I always feel that, and I relate it to myself, I think Execution by Ram Charan. I think that's the book which I personally relate and professionally relate to. You can have any amount of strategy, but if you are weak on execution, and I think that book still holds good and valid even times like today. You got to have a very fine balance of patience and impatience. Do not get impatient if you're not getting early success. All my bosses with whom I work, I think whatever I am today is an outcome of some of the finest professionals I worked with.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel StartupLanes.com. I am Pranjal Jaiswal and I take interviews of various CXOs of India. Today we have with us Mr. Sharad Sharma. He is the CHRO of Pramerica Life Insurance Company since 2017. He has over 25 years of HR experience across BFSI, Telecom and ITES sector. He has held senior HR portfolio in companies like Vertex, Max New York Life, Fidelity, Bharti BT, Canon. His last assignment was with GE SBI card as Chief People Officer. He is a certified OD practitioner from TISS and is also NLP practitioner. With this, let's dive into this video.
Hi sir, good morning. My name is Pranjal Jaiswal. I'm from StartupLanes. We are really grateful to have you here. I would first request you to kindly introduce yourself.
My name is Sharad Sharma, and I've been in HR for almost 25 years plus. I've been in various industries. Largely, my experience has been into BFSI, ITES, and telecom. Largely, that's been the sector I have been in. I've been part of both startup, scale up, transformational journey. Been working with companies like Max New York Life, Vertex. This was a US-based company. Canon India, Bharti British Telecom, eFunds, Fidelity Investments. My last assignment was with GE SBI card, which was a joint venture between GE Capital and State Bank of India for their credit card business. I was the chief people officer there. And now I work for a company called Pramerica Life Insurance. This is a joint venture between Pramerica of US, which is Prudential of US, and Pyramid Housing Capital of Pyramid Group. So it's a 51-49% joint venture, and I am the chief HR officer here, and I also the business ethics officer for the company.
Wonderful, sir. So my first question for you is, tell us about your professional journey. What led you to this point? Was that easy or tough?
Well, I started working from 1994, and at that point in time, this was never called human resources. This used to be called personnel management. I wanted to be a doctor, but somehow did not get science, and I ended up getting into commerce stream. And that's when somebody told me that there is a college which gives you a degree in personnel management. So I think my target was very clear from beginning that I would pursue my career in human resource management, and it was in Delhi University. I got the admission there, and that's where my HR journey started. I think it wasn't an easy journey, but I think it was an exciting journey. I was very clear in my mind the milestones which I had to kind of pick up in my career. When do I reach at what point? And for that, you had to really do a lot of things by your own hands. Unlike times like these today, when the youngsters, they want to really go to the top without going through that grind, which possibly generation of ours have gone through. So yeah, I think you ended up doing a lot of stuff which any management graduate today would be a bit shy to kind of do that. But I think that also led to a very strong foundation for me, which led me to where I am today. I think I was successful in getting onto ventures which were in a very fast, agile setups, new age industries. I got into telecom as telecom was just the in thing. I got into internet, but that was the in thing. I got into investments, financial services when that was the boom. So I think I was lucky enough to get into the right sectors at the right time. I also was lucky to kind of get different shades of experiences in HR. I was never compartmentalized as one stream. So I ended up doing business HR. I ended up doing comp and ben. I ended up doing international assignments. So there was a variety of roles which I ended up getting into. But I think, yeah, you had to invest a lot of time in learning those jobs. You had to be part of that entire process. And I was very clear that I would want to be the HR head before I hit 40. And I was very lucky that I got the opportunity to be head of HR when I was 36, 37. So it's been 12 years of holding the portfolio as HR in different industries. I personally feel that getting a top position is not difficult. You can be lucky sometimes. It can come to you by hard luck, or it can come to you by good luck, or it can come to you by hard work. I think what's important is are you able to sustain that position for a long time? So I think I take a lot of pride that I have been able to sustain the CHRO role for almost 12 years plus now in 3 different industries. 2 of them happened to be financial services, and one of them was a large ITES company. But yeah, I think whatever I did in my early 10 years possibly gave me the results what possibly I'm enjoying today.
Very nice, sir. So have you faced difficulties in your life? Can you think of your tough time and how did you tackle it?
I think the toughest time was, I think multiple, either the company was going through a transformation journey, or you were stuck in your career that, where do you go next? But I think you got to really assimilate fast. I don't think so you can remain in that zone for that matter. I can't really give you specific examples of a company because that's going to be a breach of confidentiality. But, many a times the HR professional got into, and I think the being on tough spot also has to do with your roles which you perform. When you are at a middle management role, you are into a different, your scale of operation is of a very different kind. But when you are at a CXO level, the complexities and the difficulties are of a very different kind. I can give you example of one of the companies where we were growing very fast, and we had issues around funds. We had issues around the investment coming our way, and we were in a very fast growth. From 200 people to 16,000 people, you had to really kind of ramp up very, very fast. But I think as a management team and as a people's person, we steered through that, and we kind of thought out of box. We did a lot of calibration, and we came out of that, and we became one of the largest ITES company in the country, who had 16,000 people, 16 cities. I think what's required or what's important is that how persistent you are and how clear you are in your thought process for deciding what's the way forward for you. So each job, each role had its own set of difficulties. But I think as I said, it's the early foundational year of 10, 12 years, which really prepared you as a full-blown professional, that we were able to kind of, steer through that, all of those difficulties.
Is it necessary to keep yourself updated? How do you keep up to the latest trends?
Multiple sources. One, of course, the net. Second is networking. Third is social media. There are a lot of things which comes on LinkedIn. And fourth is reading. Reading books and keeping yourself updated on what's happening in the industry, what's happening. I think to me also meeting youngsters as part of your networking activity, meeting high potential talent from different industries, to understand on what's going on in their industries or what's going on in their company. That's one good way of getting a live and a real example on what other companies are doing around talent, what other companies are doing around retention, what other companies are doing around hiring people, what other companies are doing about new age technology. There's a lot of buzz around digital now. There are a lot of things which are being discussed about it. So I think there are 4 or 5 mechanisms through which you can keep yourself updated. And one of them I personally feel is in human interaction, meeting people of all ages, all of levels, all of seniority, to really see on what's happening, just not in your industry but across industry.
Which are your favorite books and what's your takeaway from them?
Multiple books, but I think I always feel that, and I relate it to myself, I think Execution by Ram Charan. I think that's the book which I personally relate and professionally relate to. You can have any amount of strategy, but if you are weak on execution, and I think that book still holds good and valid even times like today, that has really inspired me. You can have a very beautifully written strategy document, you can have a very beautifully written strategy outlet, but if you do not know how to execute that strategy, that's of no use. So I think that's very practical, very contextual. And I think I have derived a lot of inspiration from that book in all the assignments I have done. So I think I would say that book.
So what is your success mantra? Share your original quote or a quote that you follow.
Stay humble, stay grounded, know your business well, be empathetic, and keep yourself updated. There is never a stage in life that you know it all. There is always something or the other to learn. So I think that's the way, that's what I have followed.
So how can your followers become like you?
Okay, so as I said, my mantra has been that you got to have conviction in this profession first of all. You should be very clear. It's not a rosy job. It requires to have a very different level of maturity. So one, of course, if you are not someone who could connect up with people, HR is not a profession for you. It's not a mechanical job. It's a profession where you got to have a very high level of EQ with a very fine balance of IQ. So one, your personality, you got to have that shade of people's person. I personally feel you should know your business well. It is no longer about knowing your HR subject, but I think you got to know business well, because business has to respect you. That's the only time, or that's the only way by which you could drive your HR agenda. I think you have to stay very, very humble to people, because people look up to you for solutions. People look up to you for a fair treatment. So I think from that perspective, I think that's one trait which any HR professional need to have. You can't be seen as somebody who's arrogant and egoistic. You got to be having that body language where people are comfortable coming and talking to you. Walk the talk. Whatever you are saying, you have to kind of walk that talk. People should relate to whatever you are saying in your action, in your behavior, in your body language. So I think that's possibly, I will say, to all the youngsters who are in the making of their career in HR.
Nice, very nice. What is your daily routine? How many hours a day you work?
Okay, I get up at around 4:30 in the morning. I go for a walk for almost an hour. I then ensure that I have tea twice in the morning. I'm in office by around 9:30, 10, and there is no time for going back. So sometimes it can be 10 hours, sometimes it can be 7 hours, sometimes it can be 9 hours. But yeah, in mainstream businesses, you do not have the flexibility of working for few hours. I think you are engaged in a lot of action and a lot of activities which keeps you busy. So on an average, I think 9 to 10 hours, possibly, I would say, active working.
How do you balance your work life and family?
I ensure that Saturdays and Sundays are with family. I ensure that the work does not intervene there. Even if it is, then I make sure that there are times when I am taking my family out for vacation. I'm taking my family out for for meals or for dinners or for everything, and that time is for them. So every year, at least twice, I ensure that I'm giving them time, which is exclusive time on vacation, going out of country or going out of town, being with them, spending quality time with my kids. But weekends are generally the time when I give enough and more time. And I always ensure that important occasions like birthdays and important dates in your life, I'm with them.
Very nice, sir. So what will be your advice that you would give to your 20 years younger self, and how you made any mistakes? Have you made any mistakes that you regret?
You got to have a very fine balance of patience and impatience. Do not get impatient if you're not getting early success. I think you got to really know your subject well. If you're not detail oriented in anything which you are doing, it will not take you to heights. It will not take you to senior levels. So to my mind, I think anyone who is 20 years younger to me, I would say get your basics in place, get your fundamentals in place, know your subject well, practice it enough and more so that you know that subject well. That's the only time when you should progress to the next level or to a change of roles and responsibility. People get a little impatient. They want to do everything in a shorter span of time. That's not possible. Then you do not specialize in a subject. So to my mind, I think you got to have patience, perseverance, and some amount of resilience to kind of face that lull in your career at times, but that only helps you at a longer run.
Where do you see yourself today if you haven't picked up this career?
I think I would have been, if I would have been lucky to get science in 11th, I possibly would have pursued to be a medical professional, or maybe in the Indian Army as the army officer. Possibly that's where I would have ended up.
Wonderful, sir. Would you like to mentor the entrepreneurs? If yes, which type of ideas or startups would you prefer?
Anything which is new age, which is out of the box, which is more progressive in thought process, which is where you are clear on what the outcome you're looking for. It can't be like a gamble. You got to be very clear on what is the outcome you're expecting, and it has to be something which is a pain area in any of the businesses for that matter. That's the only way you can make a venture successful. So I'm happy to kind of mentor all those people.
Whom would you like to thank for supporting you in your career and life?
I think my family, all my bosses with whom I worked. I think whatever I am today is an outcome of some of the finest professionals I worked with in all my assignments. I ended up working with tough leaders. I ended up working with not so tough leaders. I ended up working with very complex leaders. I ended up working with very nice leaders. So I think I want to thank all of that, because whatever my personality today is an outcome and a reflection of all that what I've experienced and what I've observed in last 25 plus years.
So what do you think about StartupLanes?
I think you guys are fostering all the startups which are coming the way. I frankly was not aware of this venture. Only when I saw that on LinkedIn is when I did some amount of research on you. But I think you guys are doing a very innovative work on finding out all these new ventures which are coming in, and all these interactions which you are doing. I think it's a very good variety of work which you guys are doing. There's one way, as your name suggests, focused on startup companies, but you're also reaching out to the industry leaders and trying to kind of gather and bringing in leaders who have either made a difference into their career or to the industry. So I think it's a very noble idea to my mind, and I think you should leverage all those people who you are picking up as industry leaders or in your ranking. Maybe these are the people who should become your advocate or sponsors in all the other initiatives which you are planning to do.
Thank you so much. So my last question for you is, how should people connect with you, like either LinkedIn, Twitter, email, or other platforms?
They can connect up with me on LinkedIn. They can also connect up with me on my personal email ID, which is sharad.sharma@gmail.com. So I'm happy to kind of connect up in either of these two sources.
Thank you so much, sir, for this. We are really grateful. Indeed, it was a fruitful session.